in the emotional realm of being genuine with our children and not being nicey nice all the time, telling them the things that they're doing that we don't like and letting them know it, you know, letting them see that we have feelings too, giving them access to our emotional range with, you know, within normal boundaries. You don't want a baby to be subject to regulated rage or anything or panic or anything like that. I mean, we do try to regulate ourselves so that what they're getting is they can handle it. But how else do they learn, you know, but by having an authentic person to be with them. So Magda was the face of authenticity, and that's Magda. And she really, you know, believed that children have a right to, you know, have their feelings validated. So that's another part of that authenticity. Is like, we don't say to them if they're crying, "You're okay." Maybe they don't feel okay, right? So we say, "You're crying. Can I give you a hug?" Or "How can I help you?" You know, and to let them sit in their true feelings long enough to have them. You know, it's not to say that we don't try to help them feel better, but our goal isn't to stop the crying. The goal is to respond, you know, to be there, to let them know we understand, you know, and then to do whatever intervention is required. Yeah, so there is, okay, let me think. Let me see, where am I? So, you know, rupture and repair is one of my big new concepts, but that's what, you know, Anna Tardos, who is now the director of the Pickler Institute in Budapest, that is actually Emmy Pickler's daughter, gave a workshop and made a really wonderful point, is that when you've had a big rupture with your child or with a child, it's the adult's responsibility to rebuild the bridge to harmony and you know, good feelings, not to leave the child sort of out there dangling and having to woo the adult back. So, but as you said, 1 in 5. I mean, what I've been learning is that with infants, adults miss, even the best mothers miss 70% of their baby's cues. But it's through that means that children learn to communicate more effectively. They have to try harder to get you to read their cues. So it's motivating. And then also it allows, you know, for genuine reciprocity over time. And then, yeah, it also gives them, you know, the opportunity to manage their feelings independently, that they're not continually being co-regulated. You know, you don't want a child to auto-regulate too much, but you do want them to have the opportunity to do it when it's reasonable to think that they could get themselves in hand, you know, to deal with the disappointment of not being understood every minute. So that's that, and then another piece of the puzzle that I think that in Rye we've always been very good at creating a peaceful, calm, quiet environment to allow children to unfold and to have their arousal level sort of bubble up. But I have really been taking on, and as a parent, you know, it came naturally to play with my child. And even though in a group setting, the adults don't need to be stimulating them, in a family setting, when you're with your child, of course you're going to play. And allowing or aiding, as much as we help them down-regulate their fear states and pain states and all of that, we also, you know, feel really strongly that we also want to help upregulate their positive joy states, as Alan Shore says. So, so that's the other piece of the puzzle, and you know, here's a mom and child having a fun time with the hats, with the train hats. And it's not over the top, but it can get over the top. But here's just, do we have a minute? Yeah, I have a minute to show you some mutual pleasure, because mutual pleasure is as much a part of attachment, I think, as, you know, anything. So here's me having some mutual pleasure with my small friends. Oops. And we call it banana time. Lest you think that, you know, everything at Rye is all about free play. These are actually children who have conformed to rules that I set, but they're doing it with such comfort and pleasure. So the parents are all there watching, you know. Needed a hug from her mom. Now she's coming back to the table. It actually, I didn't bring it all, but this episode got a lot more high affect. And mo banana, and then I started serving them chamomile tea, and they were gurgling their tea and blowing bubbles, and we had really a fun time. So that's you know, educating with a little scientific background to it, and it's all about the whole child. You know, it's an integrated approach. It's not something you can do in a sound bite. You know, it's more than that. You know what my husband said the other night? I was talking about my presentation and how I was trying to put it together and this and that and what educating a Rye is. He said, it's a resistance movement. And it really is. You know, we talked a lot about cultural relevance and how does it apply in this, you know, setting and that setting. But the truth is, it's countercultural to everybody. Because, you know, especially here and now with consumer society, and parents are getting their parenting information more from advertisers and people who sell products to them, you know. Like for instance, those baby bolsters that hold them still on their backs to sleep. Now the FDA has said these are killing babies. Nobody ever said back to sleep means you have to restrain your baby on their back. It just means you put them down on their back. So somebody said, oh, well, let's make a restraining device. You know, and so parents look at that and go, oh, I must need that. I better buy that. I better get that for my niece for her shower, whatever. So, so Rye is a resistance movement that is trying to help parents connect and be fully present and not buy into every new toy and battery operated this and that. It's actually rather old-fashioned, in what it promotes. And I think a lot of the things that are going on with children now are maybe counter to our evolutionary adaptiveness. And we don't know where it's going to lead, but we're seeing some problems with all of the media and all of the kind of disconnect that parents are spending all their time on their, Blackberries or on their cell phones or texting and, not really paying attention to the child. So this is a way of sort of promoting deep attention to the child. So, the end. That is one of my friends with her nanny. So that's a good relationship in action there. So, anyway.
Could you take a couple of questions?
Yeah, I'd love to. And we could turn the lights on. Yes?
So, a couple of questions, and they sort of tie in. The question is, as they get older, what would the right approach to discipline be in terms of those limits? And also, I guess that's my question. I'm trying to wrap it all up.
It would include a lot of information. It wouldn't include over talking something, but when you're setting an expectation for a child, to be really clear about why you're setting that expectation. And sometimes the reason is because I'm the mommy. I mean, sometimes you just get past explaining, and you have to just say, because I said so. But prior to that, you've said, I can't let you spray the water, in the bathroom like that, because it gets the bathroom too wet and slippery and it's dangerous. And then they keep spraying, so then you end the bath. You act. You don't just talk at them. You don't expect them to agree with you all the time. And then you have to, I always said, you can't change another person. You can only change yourself. So what am I going to do about this situation? I'm going to try to figure out why bath time gets so out of control. Maybe it's at the wrong time of day. Overall, it's more about being consistent, having the fewest rules possible that you can live with. Magda called them house rules. In my house, there was a no jumping on the bed house rule. Other families, they don't care.
Right.
My brother-in-law, as a baby, broke his collarbone because his siblings were bouncing on the bed. And so, I just sort of thought bouncing on the bed was asking for injuries. But I let my kids climb on the coffee table. My neighbor didn't let the kids climb on the coffee table. Well, I had a crummy old coffee table, and I didn't have any climbing structures otherwise, so, that was fine with me. So it's about believing in your limits, Like you don't set limits just because you think you're supposed to. You set limits because this is not safe, or I can't tolerate that level of noise, or whatever, and be honest about it. I need you to keep your voice quieter now because it really hurts my ears. Can't let you do that inside. It hurts me, or.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and it's like over time, nobody gets instant compliance. It's that relentless, just keep after it. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I see a lot of women who are really fearful of interacting with their babies too much, or their toddlers, particularly as they get older. This kind of goes to what Emily's saying about the discipline. Women who've been practicing right, or kind of feeling that this is the mode they want to go in, and then when their child hits 2, 2.5, they're very fearful of interjecting or imposing themselves or imposing discipline. And they get paralyzed by, am I doing it right? And their anxiety and their confidence is just...
Right. Well, in my teaching, what I try to do is help people stay attuned to their own feelings. Because if I feel like my child is doing something that is really inappropriate, and I feel that in my level of tension and my breathing gets labored, and I have to act. I want people to stay connected to their own common sense and go, this is not okay. And I don't think that by having reasonable expectations for, I think not having high expectations for a child's behavior is a kind of disrespect.
Yeah.
It's like they don't think the child can handle it.
Yeah. Right.
Whereas, I think you have to keep your own self-respect too, and not let your child run all over you.
So you say that to the women?
Yes.